on display. Dr. King stands determined and brave, looking out the promised land. Across the tidal basin stands another giant of our history, Thomas Jefferson, whose words declared the very idea of America, that we are all created equal, endowed by or created with certain inalienable rights. We all deserve to be treated equally throughout our lives. To state the obvious, no audience knows it better than this one, we've never lived up to that idea. But we've never walked away from it fully. We've never walked away. In his sermon to the march in Washington, Dr. King called on all of America to live up to the full meaning and promise of our Declaration of Independence. And so, they stand here in perpetuity, in timely and timeless conversation that inspires us and challenges us, reminds us how far we've come, where we need to go, and how much longer the journey is. And it's a conversation that shapes our days and that we must carry forward. Madam Vice President, Madam Speaker, Chair of the Black Caucus, Beatty, Congressional Black Caucus members, Memorial Foundation, leaders of faith and community, distinguished guests. From here, we see the ongoing push and pull between progress and struggle over the self-evident truths of our democracy. And in our nation, we now face an inflection point in the battle, literally, for the soul of America. And it's up to us together to choose who we want to be and what we want to be. I know the progress does not come fast enough. It never has. And the process of governing is frustrating and sometimes dispiriting. But I also know what's possible. If we keep the pressure up, if we never give up, if we keep the faith, we're at an inflection point. I know I've maybe overused that phrase, but it is an inflection point in American history in delivering on economic justice. For it was the dignity of work that Dr. King was in Memphis on that fateful day in April, helping sanitation workers, not only for better pay and safer conditions, but to be granted more dignity as human beings. In our time, it's about recognizing that for much too long, we've allowed a narrowed and cramped view of the promise of America. A view that America is a zero-sum game, particularly of the recent past. If you succeed, I fail. If you get ahead, I fall behind. And maybe worst of all, if I can hold you down, I lift myself up. Instead of what it should be. And it's just self-evident. If you do well, we all do well. That's keeping the promise of America.
Yes.
I've never seen a time when working folks did well that the wealthy didn't do very well. Look, it's the core of our administration's economic vision, and it's a fundamental paradigm shift for this nation. For the first time in a couple generations, we're going to be investing in working families, putting them first and helping them get ahead, rather than the wealthy and the biggest and most powerful people out there.
Yeah.
We're investing in black families with rescue checks and tax cuts that will reduce black poverty by 34%.
Woo.
Black child poverty by more than 50% this year. And we're aggressively, with the leadership of some of the people I'm looking at right now, combating housing discrimination to create a generation of wealth. How did every other person make it to the middle class from a working class circumstance? Just like my dad did. Build equity in a house. Granted it was small, granted it wasn't much, but it was enough to build a little equity.